The difference is not time, because time is the same, 24 hours a day. But the variable in how your life works out, the kind of life you experience, the effect you have on other people, the influence you have on other people, that variable, of course, is you. Key phrase to remember: the major key to your better future is you. The major key is not the company. The major key is not the country. The major key is not the political system you might live under. But the major key to your better future is you. It's you and what happens to you. What you learn from what happens, what you do about what happens, the plan you've got for the future, you are the variable. And when I found out I could make a major difference in my own future, I met a great teacher when I was 25 years old. And of course, I had all the excuses at the time. I'd been working 6 years as to why I was not doing well. I blamed the government. I blamed circumstances. I blamed taxes. Prices are too high. Things cost too much. I had the usual list. Didn't have the opportunity, didn't have the breaks, didn't happen for me like it happened for someone else. All those usual excuses. Then I found out from my very wise teacher that the major key to my future was not going to be changing all the things I thought needed to be changed, like the tax structure and the government structure and the price structure and circumstances. That all I had to do was to take all of that inevitably happens to all of us and make personal changes. That I could become the power. I could become the major factor in my future. And when I found out that that was possible, it was hard for me to sleep that first year. I got so excited that I finally discovered I could make a major change in my own life, and that I could be the major factor in my destiny and all the rest. If you blame the government and you say, well, it's got to change before I can change, then that may be impossible. If you blame the economy, it's got to change before I can change, then who knows how long that'll take. And when I finally gave up that list of blaming all these other factors and said, hey, it's me, then I got very excited, because me was something I could do something about. I couldn't do anything about the economy. How could I change the banking structure? How could I change circumstances that are inevitable for all of us? Couldn't do that. But if you understand that you are the major factor and there's something you can do about yourself, you can change your goals, you can change location, you're not a tree, you're not stuck, you're not an animal driven by instinct and the genetic code. You have the ability to think, ponder, reason, gather ideas, and make major changes in your own personal life. And when I found out that, it was hard to sleep that first year. I got so excited about accepting that responsibility for personal change. Learn the lesson of the seasons. Key phrase to start with: life and business is like the changing seasons. Frank Sinatra sings, life is like the seasons. And now here's the second phrase: you cannot change the seasons. They are set. Winter follows fall, spring follows winter, summer, harvest. The seasons are set. You cannot change those. But here's what you can do. You can change yourself. You cannot change the circumstances, but you can change yourself. You cannot change the wind that blows, but you can set a better sail. You cannot change what happens, but you can change what you do about it. Whereas before you used to be bewildered by the changes, now you have more confidence. So we cannot change what's going on out there. It's like the wind that blows. But we can change ourselves by setting sail, working on our philosophy, working on our attitude, working on our disciplines. So you can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. The same wind blows on us all, the wind of circumstance as well as the wind of opportunity. But here's how you take advantage of it. Look inside yourself. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. If you just remain how you are, you'll always have what you've got. But if you're willing to make changes, the next 5 years of your life can be totally different than the last 5. If you don't change, chances are excellent the next 5 will be like the last 5. Act on what you've learned and what you've got. Put these notes into action. It's action that turns ideas into reality. It's action that builds the city. It's the 6 days of labor. Yes, we now must rest one after 6 of labor. But don't get those numbers mixed up. 6 of rest, 1 of labor. It's not rest that builds the city. Yes, we must rest. But make this note, this is for leaders, potential leaders. Only rest long enough to gather strength, no more. The same is for food, only enough food to gather strength, no more. Because the purpose of an object is not to eat. The purpose of an object is not to sleep. The purpose of an object is not to rest. The purpose is to build the city, build the university, build a career, build your good health, build an organization, build for the future. Employ those 6 days out of 7 and see if you can't, with your own voice and with your own hands, build something that'll last for a lifetime for yourself and for your family and for your future. For the things we want for the future, first, get serious. Serious about your own commitment, serious about your goals for the future. Get serious about your own personal development. This would be a good time to get serious, this beginning 2003, making new commitments for the future, especially from what we've heard these last few days by everybody's presentation. Next is to get smart, learn everything you can. Here's what it takes: incredible patience to learn, because some good ideas come in strange packages. Sometimes you read a little small book and it's got 10 good ideas. And then you read a 500-page book and it's got 2 or 3 good ideas. But you've got to read both books. You have to have the patience to go through the 500 pages. And then maybe the excitement of going through just a few pages and getting a lot of ideas. But you must read both books. You can't just read little books. So, first, get serious. Next, get smart. Learn everything you can from every source you can. Have the patience. Next, get serious, get smart. The next one was get going. No matter how smart you are, nothing much happens in terms of results until you put it into action. Just go to work. And the old ancient formula is probably the best: 6 days work, 1 day rest. It's important not to get those numbers mixed up. Here's why activity is so important. It finally produces the miracle of reality. The miracle of substance always comes finally when something is put into action. Yes, we need to be dreamers. Yes, we need to be architects for the future. But the architect needs the bricklayer. Make the note. The bricklayer needs the architect knowing what to build. But the architect can draw the painting and the picture, the dimensions all day long. But unless somebody is willing to lay bricks, then the entity and the building and the opportunity is never accomplished. So get going. Here's one that's important, and that is get better. And no matter how long you live, it's possible each day, each month, each year to get better. To get better at understanding the complexity of life, get better at handling a variety of personalities that come your way, get better at managing fear, get better at conquering worry, get better at language that works in helping people see and change their lives, get better at seeing the vision for yourself so that you can enlarge what you do that takes in your family, takes in your community, your country. There's an interesting phrase from an ancient prophet, and it says, "In due season, your harvest will come." First, harvest cannot come unless you're due. Harvest does not come to those who did not plant all those months ago called the spring. Harvest does not come to those that hope. Harvest does not come to those that wish. Harvest does not come to those who have their fingers crossed. Harvest only comes to those for which it is due. Harvest only comes to those that have planted, that did the job, that told the story, that gave the invitations, that conducted the meeting. You've got to make the expenditure up front. But if you make the expenditure up front, before the harvest is there, you must see the harvest in your mind. You must anticipate the harvest because others have already received a harvest. It gives you hope. But we plant in the dark. We plant not knowing for sure. But if you'll take the risk and talk, if you'll take the risk and go, if you'll take the risk and serve, if you'll take the risk and give an opportunity to someone, if you'll take a risk and get on an airplane, if you'll take a risk and go see the people, if you'll take a risk and conduct a meeting, I promise you, as time unfolds, your harvest will come. We've all got to have a future to work for. We've all got to have the ability to see something beyond ourselves, something beyond just today, something beyond just this week. The future, setting your goals. And a lot of people have asked me tips on how do you set goals. Let me just give you a simple little formula on setting goals. Vision of the future. Being able to see beyond today. Here's a little formula for setting goals. Number one, decide what you want. Get together with your wife and decide, what do we want? Get together with your husband and decide, what do we want? Get together with the family. Make some decisions. What do we want? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? What do we want to have? What do we want to share? Then some of this has got to be personal. What do I want? What kind of skills do I want? What kind of income do I want? What kind of future do I see for myself? Not just for my family, but for me as well, because I'm going to have a major part in my family's future. What do I want? Get together and decide. Now, here's number two. Write it down. Put it on paper. Sometimes you got to take things out of your head, not just operate out of your head. You got to take it out of your head and make a list. Make a list. Do the decision-making process and then just simply make a list. Write it down. Now, here's number three. Keep the old lists. Keep the old lists of goals. One of the greatest signs of personal development is looking back on those old lists of goals. I look back at a list of goals I made 10 years ago, and I'm telling you, some things on there, I'm a little embarrassed. Here's 10 years ago, here's what I thought was so important. Now I'm telling you, it's not that important anymore. I've grown, I've changed, I've matured. And I've got some of my goal lists that go back 20 years, 25 years. Some of those I won't even show anybody. Here's what I thought was so valuable. Now I understand so much better as my priorities have changed. Some of the things that used to be on the top of my list right now, I've learned they're not that important anymore. Other things have taken place on the top of the list. So, number one, decide what you want. Number two, write it down. Number three, keep the old lists. And here's number four, check off. When you do get something that's on your goal list, check it off. The first time I came to Spain many years ago, I happened to have my journal with me that had the list of goals in it. One of them was to someday go to Spain. And I had that journal with me, and when the wheels touched the runway in Madrid, I got out that list and I checked it off. Now, here's what's next. Pray for patience. Doesn't come easy. All of us, especially that are ambitious to succeed, ambitious to help someone to succeed, ambitious to conquer our world, do the best we possibly can. It's not that easy to be patient, but I'm asking you to pray for it. Sometimes it's got to come as a gift, that you'll be patient with your people, you'll be patient with your customers. Some are easy and some are difficult. If we make a promise and something happens and something's a little delayed, have a little patience. Have some patience with yourself. Just, you got to sometimes just sit down and just take it easy. And just take it easy on yourself. You'll learn. You can change. You can grow. Here's my next bit of advice. Find some extra courage. Here's number one, to make the tough decisions. I don't know what all the decisions you had to make to get here. That's probably a good start. When you get home, you're going to have to make some more, but reach down inside. Some of the answers are outside. Some of the answers come from our history and our legacy. Some come from our reputation. Some come from those that are surrounded. But here's the deal. The tough decisions you have to make all by yourself. And the courage to do that comes from inside. When no one else is around and you've got to dig deep inside to make decisions you haven't made before, here's a good list. Have the courage to change. If you need to change, then change. If you need to read, then you've got to do your reading. If you need to listen, you've got to do your listening. If you need to grow, then you've got to start growing. Here's the key. The courage to have a touch of humility. No matter how grand and glorious your success might be, a touch of humility will make you more sophisticated than you can imagine and will make your story shine brighter. Remember, the poor must be taught not to be cynical, but the rich must be taught not to be arrogant. Here's the next one, the courage to compromise. When to make things work in your local community, your local organization, the STS, whatever it is. To compromise, give a little, someone else will give a little, you give a little, right? Not so demanding. We don't want to let everything just fly apart. Everything does have to work well, but learn to work together. Here's the next one, courage to risk. For some of you, it took a lot of courage to be here, risking the time, risking the arrangements you had to make, risking the promises probably some of you had to make to get here. Now you got to go home and make those promises come true. Next, the challenge for all of you here, since you have done extraordinary things to get here, now use all of that it took to get here to now become a leader. Your family needs an extraordinary leader. Your community needs an extraordinary leader. Your organization needs an unusual leader. Here's the key now on leadership. Be willing to accept the opportunity and the responsibility. Become a leader and inspire your inner circle. Don't be the person who can inspire their organization but not their children. Help your organization set goals and help your children set goals. Help people make wise decisions about how to proceed and what to do with their time and their money. Next, I ask you to work on all of your skills and all of your gifts. It's been my challenge since coming from the farm country of Idaho. Working on my gifts, working on my skills so that they found a place for me. There's an ancient phrase that says this from the old prophet, if you work on your gifts, they will make room for you. If you work on your gifts, they'll make a place for you. You'll have a place to serve, a place to be effective, a place to have influence if you work on your skills, work on your gifts. I've got to be one of the good examples. Look where my gifts have brought me. From the farm country of Idaho to Nashville, Tennessee.